Good afternoon. Excited about our 3 additional signees that we obtained yesterday. And it's kind of been a unique process as you go through and having the 2 signing days. I think everybody's kind of getting adjusted to it and trying to be able to have a good plan. You know, the second time you go out, you kind of we're combining, finishing up a class, even though we signed the majority of our class in December, and also getting a great jump on juniors and sophomores. So, but really excited about with the last 3 weeks, we'll be able to produce and Jamar Johnson, Jonathan King, and James Miller all signing with us as Indiana Hoosiers. And Jamar is a young man that really excited about as a safety and that has the versatility to play really any of the back end positions and so really brings the physicality to our program that I love and versatility, run really well and is the kind of young man that is going to come here and I believe and do great things and buy into everything that we're building as a program. So we're excited about James. And Jonathan King, young man that we really had really gone after in the beginning and then committed to Oregon and so then it kind of was a little bit of where we're not on him as much because of that and his ties to that staff and so but then when things changed and then we were able to get Michael Penix, his teammate, that really kind of allowed us to get back in on him. And so really excited about his skill set, defensive end, guy that's very physical, needed some girth to our defensive end pool and our guys to be able to play the run and rush the passer and has a great explosiveness to him, plays really hard and very physical young man. And then James Miller, young man that we really excited about as well. All 3 are strong additions and he's a guy that really had to fight till the midnight hour, literally, to be able to get him to be able to become a Hoosier, and really excited about him and his family joining us. And one of those unique linebackers that has the physicality and downhill nature of a Mike, and with the athleticism of being able to play out in space and really being a stinger and playing to the field or to the boundary. And so really love his versatility as well, and really physical player. It's one thing when you talk about our class, very athletic, a lot of speed, and when you watch these guys play, there's a lot of physical performances by these guys in high school, and really emphasize that on both sides of the ball. Just really wanted to get guys that love to hit, love to run, and can do both of those things well. One interesting thing with James is he has his younger brother Justin has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which you notice every time we have our 1 week throughout the season, we all wear patches as coaches, and that's the specific type of disease that we are trying to bring awareness for. And his brother has that, and so really, just excited to be able to be a part of something that helps and touches home with one of our own here. So really special family for sure. So we signed 16 high school players, and then we had the 2 transfers as well. So that gives us 16 on defense, 9 on offense, and then 2 athletes and a kicker. So really feel like we addressed the need. We lost a lot of upperclassmen on the defensive side of the football, and so because of that, we signed 6 in the secondary, 3 corners, 3 safeties, and 4 linebackers that we really was a big need for us for sure. And we obviously play different styles in terms of based on the offense we're playing, but in our league we have to have 3 linebackers on the field against several of our opponents in several situations, and even the way that our Husky position has evolved where some of these guys will fit into that mold as well. So it's just a group of guys that address a huge need, and on offense, 3 O-linemen, especially with the maturity of a Nick Linder coming to us and really allowing us to build a strong group there. There's a couple of younger guys that we can develop, and 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, a quarterback and a running back. And the quarterback and running back are already here, and one of those receivers as well. So really encouraged by what those guys are already doing as they're on campus, and getting a kicker was a priority for us, and securing Charles was big time, and then a couple athletes that we're going to be able to decide where they best fit. So to summarize our group, 10 different states represented, 9 from Florida, 4 from Illinois, 4 from Tennessee, 3 from Indiana, 3 from Georgia, 1 from Maryland, New York, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Virginia. So as our roster has already been reflected, it's a national group that we have individuals from different parts of the country, and that's a big reflection even of our university as well. But if you go through and look at our roster, a lot of guys from areas, and I think that's a great thing for us to be able to continue to do as we play, a great schedule and have a great brand nationally. I really want to commend Matt Wilson, Scott Gasper for their work with our recruiting. A really strong class that I love, the kind of young men that we've attracted here, not just athletically, but as young men. And then just as I said before, I know I've said some of these things with the previous class that when we signed them in December, but things that need to be, I think, restated, because it's really important that we bring guys here that are great fits for Indiana. So also excited about Nate Sudfeld and his ability to earn a Super Bowl ring, which is pretty awesome. I did not coach him. I came here this spring. When I got here, he was just finishing up, and I got a chance to meet him, and what a quality person, and couldn't happen to a finer young man. And so I know we had several guys competing to get to that opportunity, but he was able to be a part of that, which is really special and really neat. We've got 5 going to the combine that we're really proud of. We got Simi Cobbs and Chris Covington, Rashard Fant, T. Gray Scales, and Ian Thomas, which is a tie for program most, and a reflection of the way our program is going and the type of young men that we're able to develop here, and guys can come here and have tremendous opportunity, which is tied for 4th most in the Big Ten, and really excited for their future, and they're training right now hard to be ready for that combine, which will come up here in the early part of March, about when we start spring ball, and they'll all be ready. So really excited for the opportunity they've been given. Regarding our current roster, I always want to give some updates, and we've got 3 young men that are going to be obtaining a medical non-counter status: Tom Ballstat, Jamil Cook, and Tyler Knight. The paperwork for those guys has been submitted, and they'll be in the process of moving that direction. They'll be a part of our program and in a different role. Also, Tyler Green has decided to transfer, and we appreciate everything he's done for us. He leaves in good academic standing, and we wish him nothing but the very best. In regards to spring practice, which is really rapidly approaching, first one will be on March 3rd, and that's an exciting time for us. Had a great session this morning in our started out in the indoor doing some speed work and agility, and then finished up with a great workout in the weight room, and Coach Blue and his staff doing a tremendous job. So got a few more weeks to go before spring ball, and then we'll have the spring game on April 14th at noon, and then we're going to give you all several opportunities to come out and see us practice and be able to have an interaction with our guys, and looking forward to spring. I love this time of year. And also just want to congratulate Don Fisher for being recognized as the Indiana Sportscaster of the Year for the 29th time. And I know that has been addressed before, but I haven't personally been able to congratulate him in public, so I want to really appreciate him and just love working with him. So he's special, as we all know, but to continue to be in that role is really neat to have him here, and pretty much going to be naming that award after you. So, but that's really neat. At this time, we'll take questions on the signing class or anything that you guys would like
Coach,
to know.
In this class, I think I counted 26 guys, obviously, but about a third of them from the state of Florida. I think last year after you took over, you guys added a couple. Jawan, I think WAP was after you. Talk about that connection and that pipe, it's almost become like a pipeline, Tampa, but also all over the state, Jacksonville, down south, Miami. You guys are doing really well there. How important is that?
It's really important to us, and it was an area that we had already been recruiting in when I got here. But I know Coach Fry was from there, and it really kind of had that kind of started. My relationship there is pretty unique, and it's really special. I started my coaching career in Tampa when I was 22 years old, and was there for 5 years. My wife and I moved down there, and was a chance to be at 2 different schools, and actually Armwood High School, where James Miller's from. I was defense coordinator there for 2 seasons, and was able to be a part of their historic first playoff season they've ever had there, and then they've taken off since and won multiple state championships. And Sean Callahan was the one who hired me down there, and he just finished up coaching here this past season. And so really unique to have that type of connection. I know a lot of people still down there. We moved back down there when I was defense coordinator of South Florida before I came to Indiana. So lived there 2 different times, and it just caused us to really kind of get even more rooted there. Have a lot of our close friends still live there, and I have a lot of strong connection with the high school coaches. Many of them are still coaching that were there when I was a young high school coach back in the mid-'90s. And so that helps. It's about relationships, and it always will be in recruiting. And when people know you and they trust you, it makes a difference. And especially if you're going to send your son, this far from where they would live. And so, and then the more you get, the more comfortable they feel because hey, I know this guy and this person, and it just, and I know for these two young men here that we have, there's all those connections already to our team already before they got here, and those things help, And so, but I think it goes back to relationships, and you go to an area, and then those coaches and then the guys that come here have done well, with WAP being all big, freshman all Big Ten, and several of those guys are going to be, we redshirted a couple of those, and then they're going to be future guys, and then you got Jonathan Crawford doing what he's done, and they see them come here and have success, and play the highest level of college football. And I had so many of them comment, even the last rotation, going down there and visiting, and just the way that we played this season. They all comment about the Ohio State game. I heard that 1,000 times, and it was national audience. Everybody was watching, and the way that we played against them, and it got people's attention. We didn't finish the way we wanted to, but they saw what we're building here. And so I just think that as you continue to see that, kids have a chance to be able to go do that at a place that they believe is going to change them as a man. And to me, that's really what it comes down to in recruiting is I believe that we make it more than just about football here, and I always will do that. I think that they're obviously coming to play football, but if that's all we're teaching them, then we're missing the boat. And so I'm not bashful about talking about helping them become the kind of man I believe they were created to be, and the future husbands and fathers that they want to be, that their families want them to be, and that matters to me. And I want them to know that that's going to be an important part of what we're going to teach them, and that's part of their development here. And you look at the guys we've just put to the combine, you see those 5 guys, and they're able to say, hey, I can go there and have a chance to develop and reach my goals on the field as well and get a world-class education. So it's a great combination, I think. And so, but just because they know me so much down there, and you have a level of comfort that you're going to be entrusted to somebody that's going to care about them more as a person than as a player, I think that surely helps.
After performances is part of it, but how maybe important in the recruiting process for some of the guys that are from down there, like Jonathan or Donovan or Wap?
I just think that when they see guys from their area come up here to Indiana and have success, I think that resonates strongly. Because those are guys that they can relate to. They can see themselves. When Wap comes in as a true freshman, right out of high school, and Donovan's doing what he's done as a receiver and going to continue to grow, I believe. What Jonathan's done, they can see that, and I just think that those are things that the kids want to see. They want to. Everybody talks about wanting to play early, which sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But they've seen guys from down there come up here and do that very thing, and that really resonates with them.
After the guys you signed at the December period, did you feel like there was still mostly a defensive need? Is that why you picked up 3 more guys?
There was, because when we went through, and once again, it's all about numbers and about spots you have available. And so we were done on the offensive side of the ball, at that point after the December signing in terms of what we had targeted, that we had a lot of spots for based on who was graduating. And so the true emphasis became those 3 sides. We had 3 spots that we wanted to fill in this February signing date, and we went 3 for 3 for those. We got all 3 that we had targeted and really were our priority guys, and that was a really impressive thing to be able to get the ones. You don't always get the ones you really want, and so, but yeah, it was definitely those 3 defensive spots we needed to finish out that group.
With Miller's recruitment specifically, with his brother, you mentioned their connection. What kind of factor was that in making him feel comfortable coming up here and leaving his brother in that situation?
Yeah, and just one thing to be able to know that you're going to be, in a situation where they're going to take care of you, and look out for you. And that's what I talk to parents like, man, you're going to take care of my son. And I'm like, I want to help teach him the things that we want to be an extension of you. And so that helps a parent feel, hey, this is the environment I want them to be in, and then to be able to show that, hey, we got a spot here for, several, handicapped positions to be able to have him see the game, and then even the ones we've added here that they're working on right now to be able to position him to where he can see, so we showed him all that when they were here, and because he's important part of his life for sure. And so it's just, but like I said, I think it's just family. No matter what the position is or the position that person is in physically, it's a unique one for him for sure. But one unique part of that was, my son was part of Plant High School, which, Coach Weiner does a phenomenal job of teaching the young men there about life. And they do a lot with the Metro District Foundation. They have a 7-on-7 tournament that they use all those funds to fundraise for it. And then their senior players will go and be counselors at an MD camp, which is kind of really a connection there that but way before I was even, here, that was something that he was able to do. So I think Justin was a part of that, and so it's just, I just think anytime you put people, first and you care about people, I think that just shows, and that's just who I want us to always be as a program, no matter who it is, whether they're coming here or not. But I think that was kind of, things that played into him feeling comfortable here.
Gearing up for
a chance to see how David Ballou has changed things from a strength and conditioning perspective, and have you seen any movement there in a positive way?
For sure. I was, you're gone a lot this time of the year, and so you come back, and so I was able to see, I'd been gone for 2 weeks and had not seen a morning or workout, so I came to a morning workout a week ago, and it was noticeable, and the way our guys looked, it was a 3-week time period from when they started until then, and just the things that we're doing to enhance, movements and hip flexibility and change of direction and speed and things that I really, was very, very pleased with, and we had a great session this morning, and because to me they're just such a, we have to be great at developing our players. There's 2 things that I tell our staff. We got to be great evaluators here in Indiana, and we got to be great developers. And a huge part of that development is the weight room. And I just really feel like that we're addressing some things that were a huge need for us, and Dave's just got a tremendous knowledge and the way he presents it, and you just talk to our players. I mean, they're the ones that would tell you it's been a noticeable difference, and so the buy-in is extremely high because they see already tangible things that have changed, and so, but it's a process for sure, and it's just some ways it's just good old-fashioned hard work, and you got to put your time in, and it's just consistently doing it over and over and over again. But I believe we're seeing, some good changes that we needed, and our kids have really bought in, which that's a huge part. They got to believe in you. You got to believe.
heading into spring practice, there's several positions that are wide open. What's your philosophy going in there? Is it, do you have an idea who might start, or is it a free-for-all?
Well, what you want to do is you want them to all know that we want to see them compete. So I want to see as many reps of as many guys as possible, and we want to develop them fundamentally. We want to make sure that we're doing a great job of getting enough on film, with whether it's the true team periods or segmented periods or drill work in their individual periods. And so you'd like to get as many guys, and we talked this morning during our staff meeting and we call it an organizational chart this time of year to try and say, hey, it's not really about who the starters are, because especially on the defensive side of the football, there's going to be a lot of new faces. And offensively, there's less, new guys, but still there's a lot of competition. Young guys are redshirted, they're now going to be in the mix. And so, yeah, you want to really, it's not about, in the fall camp, it's a lot of ones versus twos and all that. It's really, you'll probably have three groups that you'll be rotating through, but you want to get everybody, and have everything divided and your time allotted to be able to get a great look. And especially, when you go through and it's all said and done, if it falls away, I think we're going to have over 50 guys are going to be freshmen and sophomore on our team in fall camp. So that's a big chunk of our guys it's going to be a younger team. So getting those guys reps, that's counting our guys coming in the summer, but getting those guys reps this spring. We redshirted several last year, so getting those guys a chance. So I want to get a lot of reps for a lot of guys and be able to truly get a great evaluation. So it's time to compete.
How are you looking at anybody that
I would say not specifically. There's a couple guys, within, whether it's maybe within the position group. We've got some defensive linemen that may play some inside-outside rotation, or you have a linebacker that might play both the Mike and the Stinger, or things like that. But a true position change. I know we have moved Jonah Morris to defense. That is one that just to say off the top of my head that he had been playing receiver. And so played on special teams last year and showed some things with that. And so probably somewhere in the backfield of that. So not really sure where that's going to fit yet. But that's one that I would say specifically you'll see a different side. But other than that, I don't think there'll be significant changes. And if something come up before spring ball starts, we would mention that. But once again, there's so much emphasis on fundamentals. Even the area special teams, it's not going to be a lot specific. Other than punt team, we'll work on that every day. But we really just the cover unit fundamentals, the return unit fundamentals, and just playing in space. Whether it's blocking in space, tackling in space, taking on blocks, and just improving our football team in those areas is really what you want for spring ball.
With your Finnish mentality, going back to the Super Bowl with the Eagles, who lost their starting quarterback, were underdogged all 3 games in the playoffs. Are there any lessons you could take from that, especially in the aggressiveness they had during the game, that you could teach your team?
Well, we talked about them this morning in our staff meeting. Use them as an example. They were 7-9 last year, and obviously everything changed this year. Lost their starting quarterback, had some other injuries. Like you said, we're not really favored in these games. But one thing that I did note was the quality of their quarterback play was very high during the playoffs. He played his best football at that point. So that position, execution of that position is a huge part of your success for sure. But just to be able to, we talked about just, because some other players have talked about it, and you listen to the sound bites and different things, and just about their grit, their toughness. They just kept fighting, and they got knocked down. They lost lost some players, but they never let that be a factor and affecting the way that they did finish. So I think you're always trying to learn from other teams, and whether it's collegiate teams or pro teams, and it's all the same game. So I think that's definitely something that we'll probably draw from them more throughout spring, and even as I get into the summer. And I do a lot of work with our guys leadership-wise here, and then we'll do some things over the summer with that same topic.
Getting back to the Florida connection, obviously I know head coaches are somewhat limited in how much you can go out and how many times you can make visits. How important are your guys? I know Coach Andy's recruited Orlando, and Coach Hurd has got ties down there, and Coach Joseph over in Jacksonville. But I know there's other guys, but how important are those guys doing the legwork before you get to go down there to build those relationships to help these guys feel comfortable coming up here?
Well, that's one reason why, we've had, you have different philosophies in recruiting, and we've gone back to really sticking with area recruiting. There's some staffs have gone to position recruiting over that. I just don't believe in that. I believe that relationships are so important, and to get in an area, and since I can't go out as the head coach, but that's one reason why this past 3-week period was so critical. I couldn't be out during this time, and so we kind of use it as a modified version of me going out in the spring and getting to as many schools as we could get in a certain area and get in front of coaches. But just for even reminding me, then I made a comment to our staff about the guys in their area doing a great job of knowing the principals and the ADs and the counselors in those buildings, and just you don't do that unless you're there over and over and over again. So we got areas in Florida that we have designated, even though it's out of state and it's not close by, but we recruit those areas like they are within our 6-hour radius. And because of that, the relationships are getting stronger and stronger. And as you mentioned, several of our coaches, that's where they're going to be, And so to me, we've committed to that, and it's been, very, very productive for us and worth our investment for sure. And it's just such a talent-rich state. There's just so many players, and it has been that way for a long time, and there's no sign of that changing, And so to me, it's important for us to be able to do that and do a great job in the Midwest, and it's time we kind of start there, and then we branch out. But I think just getting those coaches in those schools and having those, we have guys, they have their areas down there, and so they're going back to the same schools every time that they can. And once again, it's about a familiar face that you trust and you believe in, and you earn that. And our guys, I had several coaches, and I mentioned this yesterday to to my boss, but I just think that we have several coaches that when I was out this last cycle where they were so complimentary of our coaching staff and how thorough they are and how professional they are and how they just were relentless in recruiting and just on top of everything. And that's important. And they believe in us, they do. And they see the job we're doing, and so we just got to continue. It's just about staying the course and just keep swinging and keep fighting and keep doing what you believe in, and that's where we're at right now.
Going forward with the new rules, have you guys started to talk about? I know you can have spring, or you can have official visits now much earlier during the spring, April, and all that. Have you guys started to formulate a plan on how you might do that? And
we have, and it's different. It's another part that we haven't experienced in the past. So April, May, and June are now months where you can take official visits as rising seniors, and so you got to decide. You still don't have any more official visits that you can offer, as a program. So they did not increase that number. So it's going to be interesting to see how it's utilized. We kind of have in our mind, it's per your campus and what strengths you have on your campus. You want to make sure you accentuate those during any recruiting visit. And so it's real important that it's a time when our student body's here and Bloomington is, like it would be when they are in school, and so, April is probably a target for us, to be able to get guys while we're in spring football. May, our coaches are all going to be out recruiting and the students will leave, for the summer, and so, and then when you get to June, you kind of have, they cannot participate in a camp while they're on an official visit, but they can be here on campus while one's going on. So you're just trying to, that part we're trying to feel ourselves way through a little bit, and you got to be real careful because, like I said, you don't have any more additional visits, and so you have to be very judicious in how you use those, and so that's just part of the conversation we're having. So we've got some strong thoughts for sure, and we've talked to a lot of other coaches and let them kind of give us their feedback on what they're planning to do. And the difference is you take an official visit in April, May, or June, and you still don't sign until December or February. That's a long time in between the two. So I think you have to be careful, and make sure you use them in the right situation.
Coach, you mentioned Jamar Johnson's versatility. I mean, is safety, I guess, where you wanted him to begin at, or is it just kind of one of those situations where, depending on need at the other positions and things like that, or maybe what his skill set tailors to, that you'll kind of evaluate that?
Yeah, I would say, once we get through spring football, and we'll know a lot more at the end of that than we do right now, and then when he gets, so by the time he gets here, and there's no question he'll be in secondary. It just depends on where, and I see him as a safety, as we recruited him, but he has the skill set and the versatility to play a corner, as well. But I would say he'd start at the safety position, unless something happens, with our depth there at corner. But he's just a guy you want on your team, returns punts and kicks and played slot receiver and just made plays, So, but I see him coming as a safety.
Yeah, speaking of the February and December signing periods, now that you've gone through the whole season with a new early signing period and yesterday's signing day not as important as in years past, how does that change your recruiting process and signing process going forward?
It really does, because I think everybody saw that the December signing became the signing day. I think that'll probably stay pretty true to that in the future, so because of that, you now know, hey, that's the one to focus on. And then it was kind of, I feel like the January period was very productive for us, but I think you learned some things along the way, to maybe make it more even productive in the future with your guys. But because you find you're still taking, because here's the approach when you're going through and looking to sign a guy. So if you're focused on your current seniors, that's a whole different ballgame. You're meeting with them and you're doing home visits and you're really targeting that one young man for a big chunk of your day. Well, if you're going and doing junior recruiting and sophomore recruiting, you can't talk to them, so you're really just trying to get to as many schools as you can. So it's really two different types of, you kind of mesh both of those in January. And so in December you did not. It was solely really for the purpose of building the class. So you really got to have a good organized plan. That way you're maximizing when you're in an area, how can I take advantage of it? Because sometimes you'll send 4 or 5 guys to a top guy to spend time with him, but then utilize them throughout that day. So those are kind of things you learn and you grow through. But I think that it's definitely changed the way we do things for sure. It makes from the end of the season to December 20th is a crazy time. But then once you get them signed, then it really takes pressure off of that. Now you can just focus on the next class and wrapping up a few spots. So I think in general it was a lot of positives that the guys would say, but definitely a modified version. I mean, you had to have a good game plan, and I'm sure we'll be better at it again next year.